I love that background, Greg. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Larry. Yeah, I had this already going, and just after everything started, just begin to add more.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Make
Well done.
everything happy.
Yes.
And I had to tell you, man, usually what I try to do sometimes, like when I know it's going to be a series, you'll watch, X
Right.
amount one day, X amount the next, and da 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 da.
Sure.
This, thank goodness I started early, because you get to the end of one and it's like, I can't, I gotta.
I know. Sorry. Well, I know what you mean. And one of the things that was important for me, especially, and in talking with Will Smith about it, was we wanted to tell stories here, Greg. We didn't want to just give history, the chronology, this happened, that happened, this is what that means. Like, we didn't just want to explain things, but to tell a story and a human story. And at the root of that story is, what does it mean to be an American? And who is America for? You know, and the fight for that is ongoing and in different ways. It's not just, black and white. There's many different fights about that were, very meaningful with characters that may have been forgotten through time, or that we just, or by the way, Greg, we just weren't taught about, right? And that stuff was so exciting for us to be able to do that.
Mhm. And it's funny you say that. I tell my grandkids that all the time, because they're
Yeah.
learning more and more about different people. And I said, when we were growing up, it was Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
Well,
Right.
they're
Right.
little fringe characters, per se, like Booker T. Washington and.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. Right. Right.
But
Uh,
you know,
Oh no, you're absolutely right. For like when they talk about Ida B. Wells, and I
yeah,
love that people that she gets the appreciation that she deserves for this. Here's a black woman journalist writing about lynching at a time when she could have been lynched, herself.
right.
The bravery of that. The characters involved in this fight. It really, you know what it does? It really puts the flesh and blood in it for people. And that's the part more than anything else that contemporizes it, is when you see the people as people, as someone you can relate to, that sort of thing.
And that was amazing. You guys had so many different people. I mean,
Yeah.
actors, actresses, everybody in there doing the narrative parts. It was like, wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, it was one of the things we wanted to figure out was how we're going to do a performative aspect to this when, trying to figure out the creative part of it. And you couldn't just have actors in wigs and costumes and
Right.
everything. It's like, what are we at the Wilshire Ebell Theater and is Medea coming out? It's like, you have to be, you have to honor the material, but you have to try to elevate at the same time. And, we finally realized just a very simple, very underproduced, straightforward, you know, type of approach is going to be winning in this, because the things that people actually said was very powerful.
No, that's for sure. And like you said, I mean, it covers all people who are under the 14th Amendment. Like you said, you've got even women's rights,
Right.
uh, gay rights, and different things like that.
Right.
And just to hear all these different stories, it's almost like you just want to ask some of the lawmakers. It's like, what are you thinking about?
I know. I know. It always feels that way after the fact, like duh. But let us not forget that, many times you hear people say, well, in time people will change. It doesn't really happen like that, Greg. It takes brave people fighting, and many times they're fighting when it seems like they can't win, when all is lost. And it's an honor for me to honor those people and that fight, and to know that that fight continues in many different areas. It's not over.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, I always think about like my cousin and I when we were teenagers, and
Mhm.
just the way things were looking, we thought, man, by the time we're in our 40s, we're going to live where we want to live.
Right,
This
right, right.
clothes, you can marry, the woman that whoever, you want to
Yeah,
marry, and everything's going to be great. And it's
right.
almost like things will kind of reverse back.
Yeah, this is gonna be great.
Yep.
Yeah, well, because there's always, you always need clarity in that question: who is America for? What does it mean to be an American? That question is always getting a little clearer for us, and sometimes needs a little more clarification, a little clear definitions on that, and the more that we do that, I think the more we do appreciate, you know, the blessings that I think a lot of people feel that this country does give us, which many of those blessings, like I said, we had to fight for, but they were there.
Right. Right. Like you said, better than a lot of other different situations in other places around the world. That's for sure.
Oh, completely, yeah.
And something else I thought about, I mean, this to me would be something perfect for all schools to run, no
Yeah,
matter what district you live in, be it the
right.
richest, be it the poorest, because it's something that, like you said, we didn't learn much about it, back in the day. It just, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
you got your freedoms, good luck.
Yeah. I mean, so many people feel like, man, slavery was like, what, 150 years ago, or whatever. Why are you guys complaining? Do you have any idea what happened? Like, so many people have no idea what happened during Reconstruction.
Yeah,
The erasure, not just the erasure of some histories, but also the mythologizing of other stories and narratives, that we're still trying to get out of there, to tell the real stories of what happened.
because you had something in there as well that I talked to people about, like when talking about like slavery to young
Right.
folks. I said my mother's favorite movie growing up was Gone with the Wind. She was 16
Right.
years old when it came
Yeah.
out, and like every woman, she was in love with Clark Gable. And boy,
Oh,
weren't
man.
they shocked when they found out he was part black? So, you know,
Oh, there you
yeah,
go. Hmm.
yeah,
So maybe he did get a damn at the.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Just how, like you said, it glamorized the situation. Everybody was all dressed impeccably. The homes were
Right.
just gorgeous. But then you think about some of the movies that recently been made. I'll just say, like 12 Years a Slave, and you see how the people actually lived. You
Right.
know, it was okay. It wasn't, the glory of Tara. But like you said, the other things had just been so glorified. And I tell people that's not the way it was, but it just made it just seem like this was perfect.
Well, when the 14th Amendment suggested that blacks had to be citizens, the danger in that was that it also opened the door to blacks being equal to whites. And
Mhm.
that was in a world of white superiority. So mythology had to be established to maintain that superiority. If we're all going to be citizens, we're going to have a way where we're still going to be higher than you. So that that mythology lives in movies like Birth of a Nation,
Mhm.
Gone with the Wind, but not just in movies, but in establishing things like the Confederate flag. And it's why people are upset about statues of Confederate soldiers. It's not so much that people honoring dead and honoring people who fought valiantly for something. It's the establishment of a mythology and of an alternate history to maintain a certain order, which is why those things have the power that they have, And when you hear the stories of how that happened and you put flesh and blood in it, and people go, oh, okay, I see. Well, that's why the KKK was there, that's how these things happen. It's not it's not just a binary hate. These people hate that people. It doesn't, things don't just work out like that.
No, that's for sure. Larry, I know we could talk for hours, but
I know. I'm sorry. I went on a lot.
oh, no, no, no. I say I appreciate your time, man, and really appreciate this series, and definitely make sure we get everybody out there to watch it. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Greg. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Take care.
You too.